video, we did get this thing cranked up. It was only running on the front cylinder. It wasn't running on the back, so it was basically running on one cylinder. We did find out that the gas in the tank is still worth running. I was able to charge up the original battery, and it's set for a day, and lo and behold, that the original battery actually charged up and turns the bike over. I haven't tried to crank it, but it does turn it over, and I was like, man, it's like this bike had never sit up. It might start. Battery charged up. So we don't have to buy a battery for it because the original battery charge, which was new when I put it in there 8 to 10 years ago. So now we just got to figure out why it don't run on that rear cylinder. And I'm thinking it might be carburetor issue. I'm thinking that maybe the float is stuck, and if not, it could be spark plug, which the spark plug is sparking. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take that drain screw loose on the card, and we'll see if any gas comes out, and that'll tell us that that carburetor is getting gas. So it's getting gas coming out of there, so the bowl has gas in it. So it would have to be spark related. I don't think there's any jets in here that froze up. So I'm going to pull this rear plug. You know what the funny thing is? I just noticed. This bike has 4 plugs. It's got 4 spark plugs. I did not know that. So does this make this a V4? It's a V4 with 2 carburetors. That is, you know, I didn't notice it until now. So it could just be one of the plugs. It's bad. I know I checked the one on the other side, but I didn't check this one. So you got a plug here, a plug over there, a plug here, and a plug over there. So this is a V4 with 2 carburetors. Get you some of that. So I guess we need to take the tank off. Since I checked that plug, let's pull this plug out and see what it looks like. It might be the culprit, because actually that's the one that's closest to the exhaust. And that might be the bad one. So I'll get some tools, and we'll get that plug out and we'll see what it looks like. So actually a correction on that. This is actually a V-twin. It's just got 4 spark plugs. It's kind of like that 4-cylinder motor that Ford came out with that had the 8 spark plugs, but it was still a 4-cylinder. Kind of like having a dual ignition. Now we get the socket out of there. Get a magnet. Oh yeah, that spark plug is definitely fouled. So I say we either clean it up or we go get a new one. But we can always try cleaning it up a bit and stick it back in. Matter of fact, it really needs to be gapped because the gap is real small. So that could be an issue, the reason why it's fouled. Because the gap wasn't just right. Which this plug looks new. So, stick it back in there. Man, it's not easy getting it back in there straight either. I'm almost gonna have to start it with something. So I got this spark plug wire. It's actually the end to the spark plug wire where the spark plug goes. Took the wire out. That's a little bit too small. Let's see if we can. So I couldn't find anything small enough to go on the spark plug to help me start it. So I'm just going to use this piece of fuel line. Starting. Pull the hose out. Stick the tank turns fell off. Didn't have too much gas in it, which was good. Kind of pain in the foot to get the sight over there. run off this one spark plug. On the rear, even though the other one was dead, but apparently not. So, I guess we'll crank it up and see what she does now, since we replaced that one plug. Well, not replaced it, we cleaned it. Hopefully it'll start running off that cylinder now. Got water blowing out of the freaking air box. Which I forgot about. Why is there so much water in the air box? I'm thinking what it is. There's a hose right on top of the head. Maybe we need to take this hose out. Blow it out. Let's get the air hose, see can we blow through that. For some reason it's steady pumping water out of the air box. That's a lot of water. A lot of dirty water. Man, that thing is full. Woo. So what I'm probably going to have to do is get the shop vac and stick it down in that hole. And while I'm blowing it, let the shop vac suck the water out. That whole air box, that tube is full of water. That's why it's constantly pumping it out of there. So, let me get the shop vac, we'll hook that up, and we'll blow all that out of there. to the rim. Starting to wonder, could it breathe? Alright, now let's try and crank it. Guess we'll let it warm up. Probably need to pour some fresher gas. I mean, it's good. Could have a mice-eating wire going to the ignition coil. Kind of put this hose on in the wrong spot. Let's get a plug and see if this coil is even working, because for some reason that cylinder is still not hitting. Good plug. any old plug to do. It'll fit in the hole. So I say put it right there. Can you guys see that? I don't know if you can see that plug or not, but let's see if it's firing. I'm gonna hook these other cylinders so it won't crank up. It's firing, but it's a, I don't know if you can see it, it's a little bitty spark. I mean, it's a baby spark. Let's try a different spark plug. If it's got gas in that rear carburetor bowl, it should be firing unless the jets are stopped up. And it's a little bitty fire too. I think you got a bad core. Let's go on the other side and see what it looks like. I don't know if you can see that one though, but maybe you can. It's like the fire is just not strong enough. Let's check the front. If it's the same at the front, then we know it ain't the cord. So it's so hard to see. It's like the fire is really weak on it. It's kind of hard to get it up there where you can see, but unless we got a bad grounding problem. But you can see it right here. There's no fire. Now we don't have no fire at all. That's weird. Well, we're sparking out the back of the car. Now we got fire. Only one other thing to do, and that is to pull the airbox top off. Maybe we can run it and spray some cleaner at it, brake cleaner, see can we get that cylinder to pick up. And if it picks up, then we know it's a fueling problem. If it don't pick up, we know it's a firing problem. So let's just put all our plug wires back on. Firing just don't look strong enough to me, but it's running off the front cylinders. Unless it's a compression problem, like the valves are too tight. But it ran fine when it was parked. So like I say, I drove it back to where it was sitting at, and I didn't have a lick of problem out of it. You would think it having dual ignition like that, it should hit off the other plug. I had to turn the fan back on. It is hot. I know it's quiet without it, but shit. We got some hot weather today. Now it's not firing at all. For some reason now we don't have any fire. So something's definitely going on with the firing on it. That's probably the reason why it don't fire on the back cylinders. Is when I had it on that side over there, it will fire sometimes and sometimes it won't fire. So now it won't even crank. That plug is different from the front plug. It's 2,000 now. So I'm wondering, is there a ground wire that's not grounding? Spark plug, and when I ground the spark plug, crank. So we definitely got a ground wire problem. I think what we'll do is pull this tank off and let's check the wires going to the coil, make sure it's got good ground. Let's just see for giggles. Let it crank up again. me it's a ground going to the coils. And when I ground the spark plug to the cylinder head, it creates that ground so it can fire. So I'm gonna take this gas tank off and we'll look in there and we'll try and see if something chewed or something. For some reason we're steady collecting water into the air box, and I pulled the radiator cap off and the water is low. So I'm believing it's got a head gasket leaking by. I regrounded the coils and that made it crank up. And it wants to run on this rear cylinder, but we still got water coming out of the air box. Definitely got a lot of water building up. I'm believing somebody ran this thing hot. That's why the fan was actually jumped. Come out of it then. That was coming out of the overflow tube. So we're steady creating water in the air box. The radiator is somewhat low, not too much. So I'm wondering if we blow back through this tube again, will we get more water out like we did the first time? Sounds like it's hitting on all four cylinders this time. So, the last time when I had this thing running, a long time ago, it ran real good. And I was able to ride it, and like I said, he rode it. So I'm wondering, did he ride it and let somebody else ride it? And maybe they rigged the fan up. I don't remember if the fan was rigged up to run all the time or not. But the temperature hand is not working. I checked the fuses up here. The temperature hand won't even move when you turn the key on. And the sensor is on the frame over here by the coils. So I'm wondering, did he let somebody ride it or let somebody keep it? And they ran that sucker hot because we're constantly building up water in the air box. And that's unusual. I mean, unless the engine was full of water, but the oil looks good. So I'm thinking that maybe it's got a blow head gasket. I didn't got water coming out of this one when I blow through. Maybe I should go to the other one on the other side, on top of the cylinder head. We got a bypass tube right here. I don't think it would be water formed up in this air box on top. Well, actually, that's a water port there. That's one of your water port hoses. So the other one's going to the air box. So that's the only one, which is like the crankcase breather. So for some reason, you're creating a lot of water, and I suspect this thing's got head gasket leaking. Because it shouldn't have that much water building up in the air box like that. And that's why I don't want to pick up on this rear cylinder, because the water is shortening the plug out. And when I spray the brake cleaner in there, it's actually drying up the water that's on the plug, and then once it gets back wet again with water, it don't want to fire. Some pushback out of the radiator cap, some rusty looking water. That don't look good at all. So we're going to let it cool off a bit, and I'm going to do a little bit more research on it and see if we can come up with some kind of conclusion on what is going on with it. Alright, so I made some progress. Check it out. Let's run through it and I'll tell you what happened. So I kept messing around with the air box. Come to find out, on this side of the air box, there's an opening right here. Down in there was completely full of water. It's like a separate compartment from the bigger side of the air box. So, sprayed it out real good, dried it out. Still wouldn't run right. So what happened, I got to thinking, I said, so what if I put the air filter back in it, and will that improve anything? So I put the air filter back in it, and it started hitting good on this rear cylinder. So I guess without the air filter in, it wasn't putting enough pull on that carburetor to make it suck more gas. So after I put the air filter, I took it and cleaned it out. I still got a new one on order. I blew all the rat turds out of it and stuck it on there. Now she's running on both cylinders. The temperature hand did start working, I had to clean the contact on the temperature sensor that's up under the coil, or over the top of the coils. And the temperature hand slowly started working. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and drain this old rusty dirty coolant out. I'm gonna remove this hose right here. I'm gonna just drain it out, put some fresh coolant in it. I don't know if you can see that. Well, there's the temperature sensor right here. Just took the plug off of it and cleaned it real good. Temperature hand started working, but I'm gonna drain the coolant out, put some fresh coolant in it. It's got some rusty looking water. I was really afraid this thing had a blow head gasket. It was just that, like I was saying, this side of the air box was completely full. Somehow down in there, it's got a passage where air flows through, and if you get water in there, I guess it won't drain out. So between me pressure washing and this thing sitting up under that carport, water is running down in it. Who knows? But the battery is fully charged, the original battery. I just got to put this cover back on. That's where the fuses go. We'll get the coolant drained out, put fresh coolant in it, and we'll take this thing for a spin. So I went ahead and drained the radiator, and just look what came out. It's like rusted water mixed with coolant. And I got some radiator flush that I'm going to put in the radiator. It's the 10-minute flush. Just the same stuff you put in your car. You put it in there, you run it for about 10 minutes, and then you drain it back out, then you put coolant back in. So I'm going to put some of that in the radiator, and then I'm going to add some more fuel to it, and then put some seafoam fuel cleaner. I'm going to put that in there, and then we're going to run it. We're going to ride it and see we get any improvements. could not, but the back two cylinders are cutting in and out. Well, the back cylinder's cutting in and out. Got wet. Back cylinders are cutting in and out, in and out, in and out. I'm probably going to have to go ahead and take the carburetors off of it. They don't cut in till you get half throttle. So I'm still having problems with the rear cylinders kicking in, a rear cylinder. I don't know why I want to keep calling it cylinders. It's just a V-twin. But at half throttle, that carburetor for the rear cylinder will kick in, but at low RPMs, it's just dead in the water. Once you get half throttle though, it takes off like a rocket. So I'm guessing I'm just gonna have to go ahead and pull the carburetor off and go through it. I believe it's a carburetor issue, not a firing issue. But other than that, it runs real good. All the gears shift. The temperature hand's working. It's not running hot, but you can hear it kick in after a while, after you get half throttle. So we're going to get it back in there and let it cool off, and I just pulled that carburetor off, see what's up with it. Okay, so I let it cool off, and I went ahead and drained the radiator flush and water out, and I think we just about got all that brown, rusty water and old antifreeze out. I just took this hose loose on the bottom of the radiator, and I've been letting it just sit here and drip. So that radiator flush really did the trick. So we'll be able to put some coolant back in it and button that part up. And I got to pull the gas tank back off, air box, and go ahead and I'm gonna pull that rear carburetor and check it out. It's got to be the high side jets are stopped up. Well, take that back. I think it will be the low side of the carburetor stopped up, because at idle that carburetor don't pick up like I explained. But when you're half in the throttle on the high side is when you can hear it kick in. So, well, just got to do it. I hate to pull them off, because you got to pull them together, and those boots are old, and I hope they don't split coming off. I think last time I had a problem getting them back on. I think I had to heat them up to get them soft enough to put the carburetors back on. So we'll see once we get them off. So just hang tight, hang in there, and we're gonna work and try and get this thing back on the road.